Absolutely.
I hit the done button instead of there was two buttons there. Put your glasses on, Stephen. I hit the done, D-O-N-E.
Not the dumb.
Not the done button. I hit the done button. G'day, everyone. How are you? Tom, I see you in there. Sally's in there. Byron, I saw as well. Amy. Was Sally there or Amy?
Amy and Sally.
And Sally. Oh, yes. Beautiful.
They're both there.
Thank you, Byron. You're very sweet, mate.
It's your birthday soon, Byron, isn't it?
Byron's birthday's coming up. I'll send, remind me, Byron, I'll send you, if you're having insomnia, I've got some info from Rick I can send across to you later on. Might help you. But we'll see how that goes. Got a strange noise again.
That's okay. It's not going to be quiet.
No, it's not going to be quiet. It is the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So
it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a while since we've done a live stream. We're coming to the end of the JOGLE Walk, and I thought maybe if anyone's got any questions they wanted to ask about the JOGLE, I've just finished editing what's in our bag video.
Hi, Derek. Derek Millar's in. Hi from Ayrshire, Scotland.
Oh, is that Derek?
Derek.
Now, I'm a little bit far away from the screen here, so I can't see the chat that well, Michelle. Maybe I should move that a little bit further forward and put my specs on so I can read. So, obviously, we've finished the JOGLE. There's just a few episodes, so I've been editing our pack. So we actually made a video of what we were carrying in the packs on the walk, which was quite interesting, even for us to look back at and see. Now, I did actually just do my pack. Michelle's got pretty much the same stuff, but you'll see when the video comes up. But we're both in it. We're both in the video, but we didn't feel like it was necessary to say, okay, I've got a bag of clothes, you've got a bag of clothes. They're very similar.
They're very similar.
And we do show both packs and rough it and talk about what's in there. But, it's remarkable when I actually watched that video back, just how little we carried. We did start the walk with a few extra little electronic items, which I got rid of. I sent them back once we got to, namely a drone, which isn't featured in this video. We just didn't use it. And not only that, we couldn't, the battery issue. Everybody knows, we talked about it throughout the thing. A lot of people who will walk a big, long walk like that don't necessarily decide to film the whole thing. And that adds a whole element of complexity. Was probably almost more difficult than the walk itself. It's just trying to keep things charged. You can imagine, right? If you're not stopping every night in hotels and things to sort of plug into the wall, so you're relying on just battery packs, and so you're using everything. You're using electricity really sparingly. So that was always an issue. So we couldn't use the drone. I mean, the drone was just a no-brainer after the first sort of 3-4 days. I think we realized, throw it up once and then sit for a whole day charging everything up. It just wasn't.
Tried with the solar, and that worked when it worked.
Solar worked really well at the beginning of the walk. That little panel, and that's featured in the what's in our pack, that worked really well. And I think actually if we'd have used that on a different location, like maybe the Camino de Santiago or somewhere where it was a bit sunnier, that would have been a really good item. But eventually, with the British weather, it just became an extra thing to carry, because I would put it on my back, or I'd sometimes put it on a front like an armadillo.
Bomb disposal, something said.
Yeah, bomb disposal, solar kilt. There were different names that people sort of, as we walked along, people were giving it different funny names. But yeah, I had this solar panel hanging on the front, because walking from the north of the United Kingdom down to the south of the United Kingdom, you're facing the sun all the time, because it's down there. So it was rarely behind us. So that didn't work. I mean, if you were coming up from Land's End to John O'Groats, the sun would be behind you 90% of the time, or good 80% of the time. So I had to start wearing this thing on the front just to get a tiny trickle of electricity into the system, and eventually even that it was just overcast all the time. It was just raining and overcast, and that thing just became an apparel. I started to not use it at all in the end, but it was really good when it worked. It charged both phones, charged the battery packs that we got in the end. So it was really useful thing. So I highly recommend that. If anyone's doing a walk and they've got better prospects of sunshine.
So Tom Servo says, nice to finally chat in person.
Yeah, Tom.
Greetings from Washington State, USA. Personal. And Dwayne says, why do they name towns and villages with names like Black Dog? Black Dog is Led Zeppelin's song. Very interesting.
Well, no, Black Dog is not. It's Led Zeppelin's song. I listened to that the other day when you mentioned it, Dwayne. I put it on just to listen to because I haven't heard it for a long time. Of course, Black Dog is not Led Zeppelin's song. It comes historically from the idea that a black dog, I think, is a mood of depression, or a black dog. I mean, there's lots of actually not entomologies. Might be entomology, but there's lots of different historical references to black dogs. And Led Zeppelin were far from the first people to coin that reference of black dog. I mean, generally people talk about black dog when they talk about depression. It's the sort of blackness, the darkness that comes over people. But I think if you were to research that a bit further back, I'm not sure where the term black, dealing with your black dog is something you'll often hear people talk about. Maybe a lot of you going, really? Never heard of that. But
I hope they didn't name that village after a black dog for depression.
So it was a bit of a because when you're sort of walking, you go through these sort of mood swings and things, and you think about things like that, and then you arrive in a village called Black Dog. You think, all right, I've got to face the black dogs of because I don't think we were at any time depressed because that's not the right term. But there was many times when we were sort of felt fed up. Yeah, fed up.
We're depressed.
Well, you could see from the video. I get a lot of criticism sometimes. When I was editing it, I thought to myself, oh, it does seem a lot of moaning, but we've always tried to keep things much more realistic. I mean, I could have sort of done softly, gently, that awful, like up in the Pennine Way, and you watch a BBC documentary of somebody sort of strolling through the Wainwrights or something of the Pennine Way, and they've got this sort of like drone shot and sort of maybe the bagpipes. No, they wouldn't have the bagpipes, but they might have a sort of a little bit of classical music playing and everything's softly lit and things. And you get there and you're stood up to your ankles in crap, and the wind's blowing and the rain's coming down sideways. It's like Facebook posts. Everything looks more beautiful than it actually is. So I try to always portray things more as they are, and that way, if you decide to do it, you get there. It's like when you go to see a movie and somebody says, best movie, you will never see a movie that's better than, and you go there and you watch it and you go, well, that was all right. That was, you've overdone it. So I'm trying to keep it fairly real. So if anyone decides to do any of these things, they get a genuine feel for what the walk's like. And that's why, in a way, I've only had tiny bit of negativity. Really, everything's been super. You guys have been super positive and supportive of everything Michelle and I did on the walk. Just occasionally you get some sort of some people are negative from the get-go, aren't they? I mean, so they'll say something, or you and I've decided I won't tolerate it. We just sort of, they're the people now that we decide we don't need those people. You don't need those people in your life. You guys don't need those people in your life. We don't need those people in your life. So you just sort of like move along, because it is as it was. It was hard. I mean, if anyone thinks, getting up at daybreak and hearing sort of driving rain on the outside of your tent and thinking, okay,
oh, I want to get up and walk in the rain.
Brilliant. Let's just put the telly on and watch some sort of binge watch some Netflix. No, and you think we've got to get out in that. We've got to pack this wet tent up in that, and we've got to somehow motivate ourselves to walk, not just for an hour or so, all day until the sun drops, So anyone sort of thinks that that's always going to be sort of an uplifting experience. The whole thing was a very uplifting experience. I mean, really positive. I can't get any negatives out of that walk at all. It was all a positive experience.
Yeah, John Hunt says honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
And Brenda says I would have given up after the first good soaking of mud up to my eyelashes.
You'd probably be surprised, Brenda, how you do drive on. This is one of the things. The resilience of people is amazing. You put the challenge there, and we get things done. And Michelle and I have always had that attitude, really, haven't we?
Absolutely. I mean, after the first hour walking, I was thinking, oh gosh, what have I got myself into?
Walking along the cliff edges, and Michelle's clinging onto my arm so that
the weight of the pack, and thinking, oh dear.
Yeah.
And it was sort of my idea.
Well, what's your idea? So I got no sympathy.
I had to keep quiet and thinking, what's
but we were
happen?
always going to do a walk, weren't we?
We were.
So but you came up with the stupid walk.
The stupid walk.
But
So-
actually, that wouldn't change anything. Even the I'm going to spread your tent in crap guy. They're all experiences, negative, positive experiences. They bring everything. All those things bring something to you, don't they? They leave you with another understanding of people, another understanding, and that's why, when we walk down the A9.
Yeah.
A9. Yeah, when we walked down the A9 at the beginning, that was like, it felt like weeks and weeks of just walking along a motorway. And even that brings some positive experiences out of it.
That's what Tom Servo says. Has the JOGLE Walk changed anything in your life since then?
Well, probably not changed anything so much. Everything molds you. Every experience you have molds you. So you're always a product of your experiences. That's the thing. So yes, it will have affected us. And I think everything was positive. I mean, everything was positive. Even I've always felt this. Even the most awful things that happen in your life, the most traumatic things that happen, is what shapes and forms the way you are and how you cope with things. So in many ways, the most traumatic things are the most formative things in your life that tend to make you who you are. So no, it would have had an effect, but I don't think we're much different than the day we I don't think if that Mini rocked up to the front door with a big Union Jack on, and we would bring a big smile to our face with, oh great, we got a Union Jack Mini to drive up to Scotland. And I mean, and then
that was the thing with you editing it as well. We remembered things were jogging in our memory, and we think, oh, that was funny, or remember that, or it sort of sparked little things that we maybe forgotten about. But
I think the worst thing in the world to do would be to do that sort of walk and film it. Okay, that's the dumbest thing in the world. But having said that, that's the best thing in the world, isn't it? Because that's actually the experience that we got to look back and see. And Michelle's got a much better visual memory than me. She'll remember things back, and she'll say, well, that's not entirely true. Because some things I've got a really good memory, but quite a lot of stuff I just forget. So looking back at it was really good. I mean, even when we got in that car, and I said to Rick, because Rick and I and Michelle were all together at that time. We went out and said, oh, we got a Union Jack Mini, and I laughed. And then I thought, hang on, I got to drive a Union Jack Mini into Scotland, and Scotland is not always the most sort of union sort of friendly state. So I thought, I got every danger now. I think once you get across that border, there's an element. There's a good percentage of people who are very, very, very unionists and sort of like love the fact that togetherness is a positive thing. But there's a little group. There's always a little group, isn't there? And they're probably the noisiest ones. Actually, the separatists, the angry sort of people, are probably always going to be the noisiest ones.
That's always the
and
case.
We all sit back and think, but there are some things. I mean, let's not get political.
Anyway, Tyler Paul says hi.
Hey, Tyler Paul.
Jamaican gal Kat Kelly says, hello, Steve and Michelle. How are you both?
Kelly, we're good. We're going to have a little experiment in a minute. We're going to order some breakfast on an app that I have here. We're not going to talk too much about where we are, although it's quite fascinating, really. Really fascinating. Some bizarre things about where we are at the moment. But we are going to order some brekkie, and I've got the phone here because we're both just having our morning coffees and settling in. And I was looking just now, Michelle, just before we started the live, and I found a waffle shop called the Waffle Queen.
Okay, cool. That sounds good.
But I also stumbled across a falafel place called the Falafel King. So I thought, I wonder if we ordered some nice. Do you fancy sweet waffles?
Yes.
And I'll order some sweet waffles and some falafels, so we've got something maybe for after the stream, and see whether the king or the queen wins. I don't think I can order them exactly the same time. So this app is really cool. That where we are now, there's a really great sort of like Uber type app, and we'll talk about it we'll talk about it today a little bit, and it's really useful because you'll see. We'll talk about it in a second.
So Lumberjack says hello from Australia, and talking about food, Brenda says not to mention cold food on cold days. Thank God for a cup of soups.
Yes, and one of the things what we talked about briefly in What's in My Pack was the fact that you know, a lot of people said at the beginning of the walk, oh, take dehydrated foods, you know, dehydrated pasta, just add water, just add water, just add water. Now, water was the big issue because water, a litre of water is a kilo of water. 2 litres is 2 kilos of water. And when your packs are heavy anyway, the last thing you think you want, you'd be surprised when you make your coffee in the morning how much water you use by weight. So we started off with some dehydrated foods, but then we found we had to carry all the water to actually, and then we had to heat it. So you need gas, then you have to have equipment to actually heat it up. So we actually found things that were all prehydrated, like baked beans, tuna fish. Actually, less tuna fish, more the oily fishes. We preferred sardines and mackerel and things like that. Was so much more easier. Yes, they were a little heavier to carry, but you were gonna be eating them within a day and a half anyway. So you factor in the fact that they were there. But if you had to carry enough water to rehydrate a mackerel and rehydrate some baked beans and things, and then also you've got to cook that stuff through because it's going to take an extra length of time to actually heat. Pasta, for example, unless it's really fast pasta, and then that's usually disgusting. But all those sort of things take time to heat. That's more gas. You're burning gas. It's time wasted. Imagine by the time you get to the end of the walk, particularly in the UK, we're only getting like a sort of an hour and a half daylight. So you haven't got time. So to crack open a tin of beans and just eat them.
We ate a lot of cold stuff.
Cold beans.
Apart from, we actually always started with a hot coffee in the morning and usually porridge, which we use powdered milk and hot water.
A little bit of
coffee
mate, which you can just see on the side back there at the moment. Actually, a little bit of coffee mate, teaspoon of coffee mate, and hot water. We didn't need the coffee mate, to be honest, because oatmeal creates its own sort of oat milks and things. But it was just a little uplift.
We just liked it.
We started the morning on that, and quite often, if we had any fruit, that went in there as well. Yeah. So that was a good slow burner, really nice slow burner.
Tom Servo has asked a good question. Was the tent smaller than it looked on camera? It was pretty small.
It was small. I mean, it was.
And you quite often.
Did it look really big on? I don't know if it looked really big on camera. If it looked really big on camera, then yes, it was quite small because.
You at one stage wondered whether we should have gone for the 3-man tent.
I would actually, if I did that again, I would go for the lighter weight. Our tent was an Elixir MSR Elixir tent. It's a really, really good quality tent, but there's another range above that called, which Matthew, the other walker that was with us, a wealthy little sort of so-and-so, the upstarts, you know.
And he had a 2-man tent.
And he had a 2-man tent, but he had our tent exactly. They looked virtually the same, except for everything on his packing was thinner and lighter and smaller. So I would have actually upped the investment and bought the 3-man hubba tent, if there is such a thing. So I would have gone a little bit extra size with and been okay with the weight we were carrying. So it was fine, but there wasn't a lot of space in there. I mean, you're getting up sort of like a pair of sardines, you know, there's just enough room for two sleeping bags, and actually we had a double. So I'm not a big fan of those. I hate the restriction of a mummy sleeping bag where you're sort of sat there and your feet are sort of like trapped in the thing. So one of the things I said on the outset to Michelle, and we've done this many times, we've camped a lot, is I prefer to get a double. Not a double, 2 single sleeping bags that zip together to make just a nice, and you can move your legs around and you keep each other.
And they're not always so easy to get now. They're all mummy.
All mummies. I've got no idea about. I think you save about a picogram of weight to have your feet sort of like stuck into a little tube at the end, and you can't sort of bend your legs. And no, I don't. The idea of putting yourself in a sarcophagus to sleep, it just seems stupid to me, and I've never understood them. Even if I contemplated a mummy. I wanted it to unzip at the bottom so I could get my feet out. I really hate that restriction. I get a bit claustrophobic when that sort of thing happens. Is the screen clean? Is it a bit misty or no?
That's all right on mine. Scott says hello. Hi, Scott.
Scotty.
And
Scott's suffering. Is it Scott in Thailand?
yes.
Scott's suffering in the heat. He just said to me, I got a message, Scott. I saw your message, Scott, but I couldn't reply to you just yet because we were busy organising for this. But Scott is in Thailand. He's gone down south, I think. Was it, Scott? And it's absolutely drenching hot, which I can fully appreciate because it is where I am as well at the moment, Scott. You can see. God damn.
So Tom says you mentioned it had vegetables. Just getting back to the tent.
Vegetables, yeah. Vegetables is a word I'd never really come across until because I'm not sure where the word vegetables comes from. Vegetables is like the little outside part of your tent.
Which is not really.
Had you come across the word vegetable? I know vegetable.
It's in a church.
Yeah, I know I know the word vegetable. I never heard it in a church in a tent before.
No.
So it's like a little porch. So it's like a little porch.
We had two porches.
We had two vegetables either side of the tent because I really like the idea the tents had two entrances. So you could open them up, get air through. You could both get in and out without, and each one had its own little vestibule. So there's a little font there outside. There was a font every morning, a little pile of water that streamed down the bottom. Sorry, Michelle.
It was just big enough for our bags to go, and actually we put the bags one each side, or sometimes
with no extra room. I mean, our bags would lay like another person outside each door, and we would lay down our ponchos because I think originally we would probably just put the bags out there, but then they started filling up with snails and sort of slugs, which is another thing. You could put your shoe on in the morning, oh, there's a slug, a slug or a snail gone inside your shoe. So we quickly learned particularly
with the boots that we learned with the boots.
Yeah.
With
the sandals as well. Oh no, they weren't so bad.
No, because they could escape, but the boots, they used to go in and then think, how do we get out of here? And they used to stay there all night.
So what you do is you put your boots into a little cheap sort of shopping bag, a little plastic bag, light as possible, and just tie them tight to keep all the critters out so that you could just comfortably put them on in the morning.
So we carried these muddy plastic bags around with us.
Everything muddy and dirty like that stayed in the vestibule. Yes. The awning.
Yeah, the awning.
It was a little. That's what we called it, a little awning.
Yeah.
And so there was a little area outside the tent, which was a godsend. Actually, if we hadn't have had that, it would have been a nightmare. To be honest, to have a tent that didn't have a nice little outside cupboard area would have been a nightmare. I would sit sometimes in the morning, bring my legs up, and just sit cross-legged in the doorway, and I'd do the cooking. Heat the water. Cooking, a lot of people think when you're doing long distance walking, cooking is a real thing. It isn't really a real thing. You're just heating up stuff to,
and more often than not, we didn't bother heating out. We just had it cold. Byron says, I thought for a second you said festival.
We had a bit of a festival outside the tent. Yeah.
Every day at a festival.
No, we had a vestibule.
So,
awning.
Chris the Butcher and friend says, hello, Dwayne. What about hello us?
Hey, Chris.
You probably said hello to us.
You probably did say it up the top. Good day, Chris. How are you, mate?
You did say hello, Chris. Sorry, I missed that.
What's she like, Chris? I'm not reading. She's in charge of comments. So if she messes up, it's half.
He's not being quiet. I'm waiting for a little gap so I can jump in, and all these comments are coming in.
I never know what to talk about when these live streams start, and they never shut up once they're rolling.
Brenda says, I love beans on toast and have the children eating crisp butties now. Because Brenda was originally as a Scouser.
Crisp butties. Right, let's get some. Let's. Michelle will read something. I'm going to have a little look. I'm going to Waffle Queen. I've got it open.
Waffle Queen.
Let me just have a quick look. Michelle, you carry on with the comments.
I will.
Waffle Queen. Let's have a look what we've got. So, Waffle Queen, Michelle. I had a quick glance.
He says, Michelle, you carry on. Then he carries on talking, doesn't he?
Okay. They've got savoury waffles.
No, sweet, please.
I'll go for a savoury one.
Okay.
A pole, sambal, and cheese waffle. That is pole is coconut. So it could be spicy. That's so nice. Do you fancy?
What do I fancy? You choose me.
Let me just have a look. Do you fancy? They're all a bit odd. Do you want strawberries, bananas, and Nutella?
Ooh, go on then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one looks quite nice. Michelle's going to have strawberries, banana, Shall I tell you what the choice is, and you can decide what you have. So 6 mini waffles, Pole Sandals. That's a spicy sandal with cheese waffle. That's what I'm going for. Don't ask me why. Spicy chicken waffle, spicy chicken and cheese waffle, cheese and that sounds the same.
So
Chicken
they all
and
sound the
cheese.
same to me.
Yeah, they do all sound the same. And then you come down and it says banana Nutella, and then it says strawberries banana Nutella. I reckon Michelle would like that one. Then there's a maple syrup. And that's about it,
That's
really.
it.
There isn't a lot.
Okay.
Oh, then they do grilled ones. They do grilled chicken waffles.
No, I'll do the
Spicy chicken cheese sandwich.
No, I'll have the strawberry banana and Nutella.
Shall I order a sandwich one just to see?
If you want.
Shall I order a sandwich one just to see what it's like?
Sorry, guys, just ignore
No, because I'm going to do competition between Waffle Queen and something King. So, okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look at what we've got. So there's a delivery charge on top of that. Let me put my address in there. Okay, you carry on, Michelle.
So Scott is in the China. Is it the China jungle? Have I said that right, Scott?
The China jungle. He's in the China jungle. Scott's moved to China.
No, China. I've read it right. Chana.
It's gone to China.
It's gone to China.
He's out bat hunting. He's out hunting for bats in the Wuhan forest.
So Brenda called the sleeping bags coffin bags. Yes, that's
they're too restrictive. Okay, let me you carry on, Michelle. I've got to concentrate because I've got to
Byron says definitely order the sandwich, Steve.
No, Byron, I'm not going to order the sandwich because I'm going to order.
Fana, not China. Fana. Thank you, Scott. I understood what you said there. Warding off the elephants from the farm.
Just because he can't say China.
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 So you're seeing lots of elephants. Concentrate, Steve. Breathe. This is your friend Scott telling you to breathe.
Right. I've got to hit the order, so let's go.
Otherwise it might never come.
So I hit order. It's only a tiny little order, isn't it? 2 sets of waffles. It'll only be really small. So that one.
Is that one in the bag?
That order's not been accepted yet. Let's just see. Waiting for the merchant to accept. So as soon as I see the merchant accepts, as soon as that goes green, I'm going to quickly order something from the Falafel King, and we'll see whether, mind you, one may be sort of an hour's drive away, the other one might be just around the corner, so that may be not fair. I don't know where they are.
So Brenda said, isn't Chana chickpeas or lentils?
Yes, it is. Chana dal.
Yeah.
Is a.
Okay.
So we're waiting for the green button.
Oh, Scott says serious. 50 to 60 elephants come every night. Crazy. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt, Steve. I know it's difficult, isn't it, Scott? But 50 to 60 elephants.
You never knew elephants were in that part of China.
Anna.
China.
Anna jungle.
China.
He's in the jungle.
He's got that China.
Dwayne says China does sound like Indian food.
It is. Well, it's the Indian terminology for. Well, they're taking a long time. Backside into gear. Okay.
And you probably can't quit that until you.
No, I can't order the other one until this one's accepted. I think
it could be all day.
Yeah, it's like this is an experiment gone wrong. Let's hope we've got long enough for you to see this. I mean, I might have to do a 2-hour stream.
So Scott said the Thana is an area in Surat Thani, Thailand.
Yeah.
Jungle.
Scott's gone down. He's going to be doing some really interesting videos from his sweatbox down in Saratani.
He's written China, tomato.
Yes, the way you say it, we'll say it the way we say it. I call it China.
Now Brenda's been paying attention. She said, "How's the fuel problems there?"
Pretty awful.
Pretty awful.
So let's go back to talking about why on earth. I'm going to cancel this if it doesn't pick up soon. We'll have to go. We'll have to. Oh, don't. That'd be annoying because I've never had to cancel anything. Okay.
Are they open?
Yeah, they should be because they're not able to be on the app if they're closed.
Okay. Just checking.
So, where were we talking about the walk? Any questions that there, Michelle, come up about the walk?
Yes, there were higher up, and I will go. I've got to read now. Just excuse me.
Okay, I'm going to be quiet. Let's just
Dwayne says Wales would be great to visit. We never actually got into Wales, did we? Some people do when they do the JOGLE LEJOG, but we didn't do Wales.
It's well off the path, really.
We were keeping on our canals at that stage.
Would have loved to. We were trying. We I bought a book, albeit the digital version of the book because I couldn't carry the book. That's written. It's about walking the John O'Groats to Land's End to John O'Groats Walk. And the guy was a complete nut. It really wasn't. This that was really going to get any food.
Yeah, cancel it. We'll do the other one first and then go back to that.
Okay, let's cancel this order. And I'm going to go back into the app, and we're going to see if I can find. Oh, Falafel King seems to be there. So let's give Falafel King.
Is the king going to beat the queen?
Well, at the moment it is. So let's have a quick look. So falafel. So I'm guessing, they've got hummus. I don't really fancy anything too much. They've got a coleslaw salad. They've got, they haven't got much. Falafel, served with pita, tomato, cucumber, onions, tahini, chips, and pickle. And then there's a sabich, which is served with pita, cucumber, onions, tahini, boiled eggplant, and then a shakshuka, spicy tomato with 2 eggs served with pita. And that's it. So should we just go for 2 falafels?
Go for 2, yeah. Let's go.
Falafel. I know a lot of you say it differently. Falafel.
Kelly says she loves your new device, Steve. I think she's talking about the app.
Yes. I wonder if there's anything nice, a little bit of something sweet, just in case the waffle people don't.
Yes, Tom says, now I'm hungry for waffles, midnight waffles, or we wanted waffles.
Well, let's get some salty granola cookies.
Okay.
So, let's not
hang
around. Let's do this as quickly as we can.
Well, we're waiting for them to accept.
Put in the home address.
Oh yes, put the address.
Order's there. Place that order.
Press the green button. Mona, darling, she says. Good.
Mona, good day. How are you, sweetheart?
I think you've pressed the button.
Okay.
Good morning.
It's just come up with the thing. We'll wait for the actual outlet to accept. The little green button should come up, and then I'll give waffles another try. Maybe because there are different branches, so maybe I don't know what branch I use though.
Yeah, try a different one. So Brenda says, how many miles did you do each day or try to walk, weather permitting?
It really fluctuated, Brenda, depending on
lots of things.
the hills, the terrain. We were doing, I tend to do kilometers, so I'll work it out in kilometers, but we were getting up to sort of like 25, 30 kilometers a day. Probably the first few days we were doing 5, 6, 7 miles. Let's say we were doing no, I'm going back to miles. I'm jumping.
I think the first day when we were walking.
Order accepted. See the little green button? So now let's
some
jump in there. Oh, these glasses are fiddly little things to pick up. So, okay, we've got some falafel coming. I really fancied something a bit more breakfast. That's a bit, not really a breakfast thing, is it, falafel?
No.
So let's see what waffles that we have. I feel like some waffles this morning. I don't know why. I just feel like something sweet. So there's a waffle queen that's really near to us. So let's try that one. They charge for packaging. So let's just go into their little store.
Oh, that's all right, Mona. She hit the button before she finished typing. I do that and it goes, doesn't it? So, but I guess that you hadn't finished because you just said good.
Okay, let me just quickly get this order. It's the same stuff. So I'm gonna put the strawberry waffles, strawberries, bananas, and Nutella. Michelle, you happy with that?
Yeah.
They charge for packaging.
Oh no!
How dare they?
And so Kelly wasn't talking about your app. She says, Laura, I was wanting to get the new A22 Ultra. Been holding off, the temptation is strong, but trying to be minimalistic with my budget.
All right.
He's concentrating.
See
whether we can get the Queen to accept our offer.
Okay, make sure my address. Got to make sure your address is in there as accurately as possible.
Yeah.
So I've put the order back in. We'll hit place the order.
Otherwise, you'll have me running down the street looking for it.
And it's in our suburbs, so it
Okay,
shouldn't be too long. Okay.
See whether
they accept that. What question was I answering?
Oh, about how many miles we walked in a day.
It really fluctuated. If you were going across really tough terrain, there are some days you will have seen that we were going through bog and peat marsh and climbing up steep hills, and that would really knock the kilometers. You're walking on average, I think about 5 kilometers an hour, or 3 miles an hour.
We got up to 5. I think it was about 4.
Yeah. So but later on we were getting a fairly brisk walk. But you hit hills, or have to go through a farm, and you're climbing over stiles and things like that. That knocks the walk down. So, but I think we'll work it out. I mean, it took us 3 months, and it was 2,000 kilometers, about 1,000. I think it was probably closer to 1,300 miles over 3 months. So divide that, that'll give you roughly what we walked each day. But it was by no means an accurate figure. There were days we walked a lot further. There were some days where we had a rest day, where we stopped maybe in a hotel. And there were some days we walked a great deal less. I mean, a massive amount less.
I mean, you plotted the route where we were going, but we didn't sort of say, oh, we will be at this point by the end of the day. We just sort of aimed our... We sort of headed in one direction. Occasionally, if we wanted to do a stop, but usually with the stops, we wouldn't book it until like the morning or something, would be to make sure that we were going to get to where we wanted to be, because we didn't know how long it was going to take us to get there.
We got better towards the end. We could plot roughly where we might be at the end, but there was nothing worse than actually having a place to end up at the end of the day, because an actual giving yourself a point. And that's where I think if you were planning, the 1 or 2 times where we had a hotel to get to, it was often we had to overwalk.
Yeah.
And even 2 or 3 miles can be completely exhausting when your body's running on empty, your fuel is down, and I mean your fuel, your food that you've eaten is down, and you've got to get an extra just 2 or 3 miles to get to a hotel, and the sun's going down, something like that. That can be really hard. So much easier to actually just stop when you feel like you've done enough and you find a spot, which we always manage to find a spot.
Yeah,
we got into trouble a few times, but we always managed to find a spot.
And more often than not, we did it before it got dark. There wasn't many times when we stopped in the dark. Occasionally.
No, even as you say that night when it was absolutely hammering, we were on the canal side, straight into my head then, Michelle. We're walking along, we've overwalked, we couldn't find a place. It was hammering down. This was on the English side of the walk, and the rain was horrible. I mean, it was that really dense rain that just drenched everything. And then it gave a pause, and we went into an area that was not really for camping, but we went into it anyway. Had to climb over some barbed wire fences to get into this field. And we were drenched, and we're putting the tent up in the rain, and we're drenched and everything's wet. And I'm trying to get I actually put the outer skin up first, I think, so we could get inside and sort of put the tent up from the inside just to stay out of the rain. Then there was a little break in the rain, and a couple walked past, and they said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And we said, "Well, we're setting up a tent," and told them the story. And they said, "Oh, we're just down the road. We're going to bring you a cup of coffee and some breakfast in the morning. Don't worry, we're going to bring you a lovely cup of coffee. What time do you get up?" And we said, "What time we get up? Sunrise and this, that, and the other. We're going to bring you and this, that, and the other." So, and then we got in, and then it started hammering again. The night was awful. The wind was blowing. In the morning, we're both laying there, and we're thinking, well, we better get up because this couple are going to come and they're going to bring us a cup of coffee. And we're trying to put this wet tent. Imagine, right? Everything around you soaked. The grass is just deep. These waffle queen people are rubbish. Everything's wet, and you're trying to pack things away, and they never turned up with a coffee.
So disappointing.
So they never came with the coffee in the morning. And actually, I didn't make coffee in the tent because they said they were going to.
We were anticipating.
And I genuinely thought. So that was that was one of those nights where it was just horrendous.
I think that was the time when you said, "Oh, get in the tent quick, sit down." And I sat down in a puddle of water.
Yeah, you did. She was upset. You were upset.
I was. Everything was wet, and then I sat down, and my bum was wet as well. I thought, "Oh, I've had enough."
That's right. I remember that.
They just came back to me.
Waffle queens, rubbish.
Yes.
Okay.
Ronan says, "Where are you both? Hoping you're well. Are we ordering breakfast? We're trying to."
We are trying to. We're not going to exactly say where we are, Mona. If you do, if you know, you know. If you don't, You don't. You'll know very shortly because
Yes.
the end of the jog was coming up, and there'll be a
Yes,
whole
not
new
long now.
series. Oops! Unfortunately, we had to cancel your order. We regret the inconvenience. Okay.
Who? The
That
Queen?
just for the waffle queen.
As long as it's not the King.
I think so. Unless
The same day.
now, Michelle.
I know.
Why did you have to say that? Now I've got to go back into the app. I've just because I say blissfully expecting.
I know, but
I've got to go about 70 different menu levels. No, that's still
That's still
going.
all right. Then there's something coming.
Now I've got to go back into the food. I want something sweet.
Ah. So
Why? Right, I'm gonna. That we're never getting waffles again. That's
Brenda says, I remember that part of the walk when there were fox hunters or something like that.
no, that was a different one, Brenda. That was another very wet stop. But at least that morning they didn't promise to bring us coffee. I know what you're talking about. That was the day when we actually, again, we felt like giving up a little bit because we were sat the next day. We end up in a barn just drying out everything in over hay bales and what have you. It was pretty horrendous.
Kelly says, oh no, they're trying to starve you. Hope you get some food. It's all right. The falafel king is on its way.
I don't want falafel though.
that was for later.
That was for later, just a little bit of savoury.
What about the eco place?
I don't know. Let me have a look. Foods. So,
So Dwayne says, I wonder how the early explorers managed to get around without the modern technology we have now. You went through some rugged terrain.
Well, Dwayne, probably pretty much the same way, Dwayne. I mean, the technology didn't help us at all, to be frank. The technology was of no use whatsoever to us. The walk would have been just as enjoyable and fully appreciated by us if we'd have done it with no phones. You can do it. And we always marvel because Michelle and I used to travel a lot before we had mobile phones. And we went 3 years touring with 3 children all around Southeast Asia and all around the world. And we had no phones, no internet. And we always found places to stop. And we also used to remark on how chatty people were. Back in the day when you didn't have these things, people would always engage. Other travelers would engage. Nowadays, you meet a bunch of young travelers. They're just sort of, like they don't look up. Even when you pass them in the street, they never look up and smile or say hello. And I'm not talking many years ago, just 5-10 years ago, you'd walk and every other traveller on the street would sort of engage you with their eyes, and then you start talking, say, "Oh, do you find anywhere good to stay? Do you find anywhere good to eat?" And it really brought out all the best in people. So I can only imagine. You're talking about the oldie days. It wouldn't have been a lot different. They would have just walked and met people and engaged with them, and probably sort of,
As Tom says, they had fast horses and there were no cars trying to run you over on the A9.
Absolutely. I bet the A9. I bet the A9 was a really nice walk back in the day.
But like young Matthew, I mean, he had maps galore, didn't he? He carried about 2 kilos of maps.
He did,
maps.
because he was also doing it. And that was the technology of the next generation in a way. He was using the Ordnance Survey maps. We had the Ordnance Survey on our phone, same difference. But he was doing it old school with the map. But actually, you don't need either, really. If you just, you watch the sun, the sun comes up, you keep heading sort of south.
I mean, you were very good at that, because sometimes if you say, hang on, we're going off course here, because he could see by the sun when it was out, that we weren't going in the right direction.
And you'd meet people all the time. You'd meet people. Yeah. I mean, this planet has never been that empty, to be honest. And you meet people and say, we're heading to south, and they say, well, go down here. When you see the big rock, turn left.
The Blue Bridge, and through the field with the mud.
So
Nigel says they've haven't got any fuel to deliver.
It's a very, very strong
and Brenda
possibility.
said I was thinking the same. Brenda says just get a box of cornflakes and milk. Well, milk could be a problem, couldn't it?
Milk is a big problem.
It's a big problem.
Don't you start with that milk nonsense. Get me into trouble.
Nearly as scarce as the fuel. Hence we've got Coffee Mate.
And that Coffee Mate I had to buy on the black market and to pay sort of double the price.
The price of that, and that was about 4 shops in before you got that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's another story.
It's another adventure about to happen. Okay, I can't see anything.
No, nothing.
Well, there's one here that's newly joined. That worries me.
Chris Galton says, hello guys. Hi
Chris, how are you, mate?
How are you? So who else is in who I haven't said hello to? You have to say hello to me again if I've missed you, because I've been too busy concentrating on what I'm getting for breakfast.
You're getting nothing. You're getting a falafel.
I'm getting a falafel.
Even I say that, falafel, because I know a lot of people.
I know.
They say it different. Juices and drinks.
Well, maybe. Well, I noticed. Hi, Tom again. Hi. I noticed in one of the comments that somebody said that you said moat wrong.
Moat.
Apparently, it's mot. I thought that it's a moat. Around a castle, it's a moat, isn't it? Isn't it a moat?
Yeah.
He said a mot, like in moth.
No,
that's not right.
Not right. You say, build me a mott, and everyone has sort of said to you, I don't know what he wants. It's something like, is that the thing with the stick with the bristles on the end for cleaning the floor? They wouldn't know what you're on about.
Brenda says, "Oh, what's the problem with the milk? No cows for cow juice."
No milk. Anyway, we're in a crisis of a greater crisis than you might think. We can't find anything to order. Oh, Cocoa Fuzzy, that's an interesting sounding.
That's good. Nigel says, have you tried the local dosas? We have.
Dosas are not really a thing here, though. We have had dosas, but dosa is not really a thing. And when we were in India, in our last trip to India, which was only a couple of years ago, it seems like a lifetime ago, just before the big C, we had dosas every single day, to the point that if you gave me a dosa, I'd probably throw it at you. But dosa's not really a local food, although they do. There is it's definitely something that's here. We tend to.
He's concentrating on, what was it? Fuzzy drinks.
No, they're no good. All they've got is about 3 sort of those horrible sweet cakes that we're not big fans of. Well, I can tell you for one thing's for sure is the Falafel King are going to win, because the other ones are.
So Chris says, are you doing any videos from there?
Yes, of course we will.
We're just waiting for the joggle to finish. We don't want to interrupt it anymore. We've been really bad with that.
Yeah.
But he's edited them all. They're all ready to go, and we're nearly finished. Not long now. Another week or so.
What are you on about, Michelle?
I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever Michelle said.
Yeah. No, I'm saying the joggle videos are nearly finished.
The joggle videos are okay.
We'll just have falafel.
No, I'm going to try Waffle Queen. I'm going to try. They're saying why would they be promoted at the top of the
Maybe
app?
they're really busy. They can't take your order.
Yeah.
They don't know how important you are.
No.
Try again.
Maybe they do know how important I am, and they're scared that I'll judge their waffles.
Yes. They're scared they're going to lose to the king.
Well, they've already lost to the king. Let me see if anyone else does waffles.
Can you search waffle?
Yeah. Ooh. Waffles on a stick. This same one keeps coming up as if it's called the Waffle Queen, and it's.
So I don't know my way around this app. Steve orders everything in, and it's great.
It's Waffle Queen. I've got to. Maybe I'll try a different
branch.
No, order. Maybe they're looking. They're saying we haven't got that.
Strawberries, probably.
Okay, let's try.
Tom says, I guess there are no IHOPs where you are. Nah.
What's that? Oh yeah, no, there are no IHOPs. I don't think I've ever been to an IHOP. We've been to an IHOP.
I think we did once. I think we went with James, didn't we? Was it an IHOP we went to?
I don't think so. No.
No. Okay. Uber Eats, DoorDash app. That's Mona guessing what we're using.
No, it's another. I will do a review of it. Okay, I'm going to try Waffle Queen one more time. They're the only ones that are coming up, and I'm just going to try some different flavors to see. Let's leave strawberries off the. I'll
just have a maple syrup one.
Okay, let's try the sandwich.
I'll have anything.
Right now, I don't care. I just want to. I'm looking for the stuff that's really simple. No, don't go maple syrup. You know they won't have maple syrup. They do it with Kittle though, so I can do it with Kittle. The chances there that we've got a bit of a food crisis where we are at the moment, so you've got to be very careful. So let's go with let's go with a Kittle one. And
Your spicy one?
no, I don't think they'll do it.
No?
Oh, I'll try it. Try a spicy one. Right, I'm done. I'm going to try that. Let's see what we've got. We've got 3 waffles now.
So Brenda says, I love IHOP hour meal deals. Great for the family.
I'm just hungry, Brendan. I just haven't had, it's midday.
Now.
I haven't had any breakfast. And it looks like I'm going to be... We've cancelled the order. Try a different outlet. Okay, I think they're
not taken themselves off.
Yeah.
They forgot to say that they're closed.
Okay, we're going to have falafel when it comes. I can't be bothered.
It's on its way yet. They usually tell you when it's on its way, don't they?
I don't know if but it'll give us a little bit of something. Give me some sustenance.
And it will show you that this app does work sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, it works perfectly. It's a really good app.
Well, yeah, but didn't not working so well this morning.
It's only because I've gone for Waffle Queen. Waffle Queen, forget them.
That's it.
Absolute
Never
rubbish.
going to give you another chance. That's it now.
No. Sometimes it's better just to crash the app and open it again to get to the front menu. That's the only thing I would say with them is they don't have, if you're deep in, you've got a back button.
Oh, everyone's talking food now. So Tom Servo is talking to Brenda. He said, oh yeah, when they have the speciality waffles around the 4th of July, then eggs, sausage and cappuccino.
Don't start doing this to me, guys. Honestly,
it's not fair.
I could eat a scabby horse at the moment. Let me just copy this text, which I'm just going to send to the driver so he knows roughly where we are.
So Brenda says, tell me, did you ever get Nigel the Gilly to talk to you?
No, Nigel ran off with his tail between his legs.
He said, I'm going to talk to you when you put the camera away.
No, he did. He was what an absolute...
But we were pre-warned about Nigel.
Yeah.
We did know about Nigel before he arrived.
Apparently he's got that sort of attitude. So anyway, we've got this order coming.
Is it coming?
Young man's picking it up. He's got a good rating.
Good.
So I'm with you. Questions? Looks like the most exciting thing I was looking forward to a nice waffle.
So Nigel never spoke to us again. He went off and he jumped in his little.
It's funny because
little thing.
In his little truck. But it's funny because we met these 2 gentlemen on the walk. It was one of those nights where we were struggling to find somewhere. I think someone in that comment on that video said, why do you stop there? You should just go to somewhere else, as if like the options were like endless. Even if you want to, somebody says, there's somewhere just 2 miles down the road. Oh, so just 2.5 hours, walking or whatever. You can't just stumble across places. So anyway, we're walking along. We met this nice couple of guys. They're out walking their dogs, and they were locals. One of them worked with the Rivers Authority, so he was very familiar. One of them they were both, I think one of them was working for the local council. Anyway, he said, you can camp there. That's a perfect spot, he said, and it's completely legal. It's it's part of the it's basically it's a designated stopping spot. He said, but be careful. Nigel the Gilly's a bit of a idiot. They said that they weren't even that polite. That they said
he was a great pillock.
Yeah, he said you might get a visit by Nigel the Gilly. He's a renowned arse, basically. and I said to Michelle at the time, oh, don't worry, I'll talk to him. Because I can kind of talk most people around and say, I'll talk to him. I said, they said, no, you won't be able to talk to him. He literally said, you won't be able to talk to him. He's a complete arse. And I said, okay. So then at least I'm ready for him. So that next morning, when he came to the tent, a bit like a few other visits we had, I was prepared. I was expecting Nigel to be belligerent. So I just thought, well, go for it. Just tell him we know his name already, and we expect him to be as polite as he was. And no, he was quite shocked by it. And we were fully with it. There was nothing he could do. There was nothing he could do. He could call the police, the army, whatever. He could call anybody. There's nothing he can do. We were fully within our rights. It was public designated land with public rights of access to actually camp on that spot. So there's nothing he could do. He was just an idiot, rude.
Yeah.
And you saw when he rocked up, he had the rubber gloves on and everything, and he was sort of like, because he was.
So Mona says, can you go directly to the Waffle Queen's website? They might let you order there.
No, Mona, I'm not doing that.
He's had a ping. Who's pinged you?
Oh, has he been?
Is he here?
Go and have a look, Michelle. I think. Sorry.
Okay, I've got wash.
Says delivered.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Joe. It's just coming down for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Yes. Well, that was quick.
Well, to the door.
Oh.
Oh, not again. They've done it again. Oh. What's happened? We tried Falafel King before. This is the most bizarre thing. We ordered 2 falafels. They deliver 1.
And this isn't the cookies either.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Oh, he's getting some water for me. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just see if I can sort this out.
So we better just check there's only one, but there
No,
is.
I know there is.
There won't be 2 in here. Anyway, that's how it turns out. We've got a little box.
Michelle, would you pop downstairs and
Yeah.
have a chat with Jay and just see whether? No, don't worry about that. I'll
Okay.
sort that out. Just ask him again if he could give them a call and tell them the same thing, same order. I'll explain to you just a second, guys. Stay with us. That they've done it again, and tell him I'm just on a Zoom call or something. All right. We've never done never done the Waffle Queen thing before, but we did order falafel from this little shop. It's up the end, nice little falafels. They come in. I know they're on because I thought last time, oh, maybe there's 2 falafels in a box, but this box, if I can get it open, contains 1 falafel. And I think what they do is when the order comes through, is they don't read the numbers. They don't tend to read the numbers. So last time they were most apologetic and rushed around with a second falafel. I thought there's no way they're going to do it again. I'll order this today, and there's no way. Now, last time I ordered the cookies because I fancied the salted caramel cookies, and they didn't. They sent chocolate brownies. They've done it again. So let me just show you. I'm going to get this out. So it's really quite.
You only ordered 1.
Oh, did I only order 1?
Yeah.
I take it all back.
That's what I said. Oh, what's he like?
All right, we're going to share one.
It's
So,
okay. I'm going to have one of these.
but last time they did, right? Exactly.
They did.
They did.
They did.
Ah, what a plonker. It's because I'm talking to you. So look, it's got French fries. It's got all the goodness in there. And actually, I'm going to not eat it because it's a messy thing and I wanted that for later.
I'm actually likewise because it's getting all sticky.
Little bit of noise. I'm going to boil a kettle. I'm going to make myself a hot cup of coffee.
So we're talking about the church and the castle while I was out.
No,
Brenda says best place to check.
I was explaining how useless the Falafel King was and how they've done it again. And it was my fault.
He said, oh no. And then he looked at the phone and said, he only ordered 1. I said, oh, what's he like? And I never checked. I just went down and did as I was told. So Brenda was saying about the best place.
So Falafel King 1, Stephen
Nil. I think the Falafel King won.
They won this time.
Definitely
Definitely the what I really wanted was something sweet. So I'm actually going to have. They did do what they did last time, though. I justify my moaning a little bit because they sent chocolate brownies instead of salted caramel cookies.
Which they did last time.
So
I think they only have things.
So there is a trend.
So Brenda said, did you ever get scared or anything frightening happened? Yes, I remember the frightening place when we were camped by the railway.
I know exactly what you're going to say, but you do the.
When we were camped by the miniature railway, it was used to be a railway line, and they had a miniature. No, it wasn't miniature, was it? It was a proper train. But anyway, it was a disused.
They may only be out to hear the kettle at the moment.
Have I got to shout? It's finished now. It's finished. He's gone to get the coffee. Anyway, we're laying in the tent, and then suddenly we hear gunshots, and there was a farmer out shooting rabbits. Well, we assumed he was shooting rabbits, but they were very near. He was very near to us. So Stephen said, "Lie down." He laid on top of me, and we just lay there, and we go bang, bang, bang. So that was quite scary, wasn't it?
Well, that went on for ages as well.
It did. It did. And he was just literally the other side of the railway line. And we were stopped in a railway stop.
We were right next to it. We were miles from any town, so it was pitch black. So we probably couldn't even see that there was a tent in the field next to his. So imagine, excuse me while I...
Just the kettle.
Hang on.
Nice picture of the kettle.
Just making a cappuccino. So imagine...
We've been to the IHOP to get our
if a little bunny rabbit, I know it was bunny rabbits because the walk that we just done, sadly, the farmer was out shooting rabbits and they don't pick them up. They don't have a dog with them to go and collect them. They were just getting, because they were pests.
They weren't shooting for food.
So if he didn't shoot that shotgun 100 times that night, I'd be surprised. I mean, it just went on for just quick washing up.
Rick saying good morning, Rick.
Rick, how are you, mate? So yeah, if he didn't fire that shotgun off 100 times, and it was deafeningly loud, and I thought if that comes through the tent, we're going to get peppered with some shot, depending on how close. And he was on a quad bike, so he's and every time he was just shooting. Whether he was shooting and getting
dark,
it,
so I mean,
it was so dark.
He probably could see. I don't know. He must have had light.
There was a big light, and occasionally the light would sort of come near the tent, but it never actually seemed to hit the tent. So I was worried that night was probably. It's funny you said that straight away, because that's exactly what came
that was
to
the only
my
one
mind.
that I can think of that was really frightening.
It was never really frightening.
No.
The whole sleeping in the random places. There was one night when Michelle and I camped in Australia when we did our Australian tour, and we were in a storm. And do you remember?
Yeah.
And we had this tent, and the storm was blowing, and it was the strongest winds. And you always worried about trees coming down and debris hitting you. But the tent kept going. It was blowing so hard that it would flatten the tent down on top of our bodies. So we were laying in the tent, and the roof of the tent was coming down and pushing down on us. And how it didn't wreck the tent. It was only really our physical bodies that were holding the tent down to the ground. So that was another time camping, but that wasn't the walk. That was another event.
So Ruchan says, how many more episodes until the last day of the JOGLE Walk? Feel like there's loads more episodes to go.
No, there isn't. Sadly, there is. We're down to, I think, the last 3 episodes. Plus there's one just before. What do you think? I mean, I'll get your feedback on this, but I'm probably going to do it anyway. So that's a little bit pointless asking. But I think before the last episode, I'm going to put the what's in our bags, and then the last episode, so that you can, you can see what we were carrying. And then you see the finale. And I'm also working on a little sort of montage of all the wonderful people that we met, because a lot of you will remember many of the great people, but it's a huge video. I mean, they're just the good people that we met on that walk. And I think I'll call the video something like End-to-End Angels. It'll be, I don't know. I'm looking at it at the moment. I found most. I hope I haven't missed anybody.
We probably missed a few, but maybe not.
But there's dozens and dozens of people, and it's a little montage of the great people. And it's that video will probably just be for you and I.
Probably. Yes. Marilla says gunshots. Oh my gosh, so glad you're both okay, but great fireside yarns for later.
Yeah. I can't think off the top of my head. There was the first, second, third or fourth night, one of the very early nights when we were up on the cliffs, and there was strong winds there. You did have that feeling. Well, we're only about sort of 10.
That was the first or second night.
First or second night, yeah. We're only about 10 feet on, and you can't really pin the tent down when the heather's this deep. So you're on heather to make it comfortable, and plus it was the only place you could camp. And the winds were really strong, and I did think, I don't know if you got some really, really, really unusual storm could lift us both up and the tent and throw you off the cliff. That was a bit a bit hair raising. Can you think of any others? Was there any other time?
Not really, no.
No.
I mean, sometimes we were in places where we're thinking, oh, is this going to be a good idea in the morning? What's it going to be?
Yeah.
Are we going to get disturbed?
Football pitches, children's playgrounds.
But then we just got up early. That is the thing, isn't it? They always say when you're wild camping that you should, put your tent up at dusk and be gone by daylight.
Yeah, but that was rubbish.
But it was rubbish. We couldn't do that.
No, we couldn't do that. People say, most people who walk, and I don't know why, they put the tent down at dusk and they get up before light and they're away. That's rubbish. I mean, you want to get up. Michelle and I don't want to get up when it's freezing cold. The worst of the weather, the worst of the weather. When it's icy cold, we would stay in the tent till the sun hit the tent and warmed it up a little bit. So it got a little bit of warmth on it. And also that bit of sunlight that came in the morning would often dry all the mildew, all the morning dew that was on the tent off. So
even when we camped, we were in the children's play park. And we did wait till it was dark before we put it up. There was still a family or a mother came with her little boy.
Yeah.
And he said,
she came with a torch. She came to play in the play park with a torch with her child.
And she said, shh, they're probably sleeping.
We were well out of the way. We were over by the zip line.
But they found us.
And that was
funny.
I remember that.
Yeah, so Brenda, I think she's referring to when we flew off the cliff, maybe. She says, no, and wake up in Oz.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, wouldn't it? Wake up in the other Oz where the wizard lives. So no, that's a good question. There's some good questions. If we've missed any of your questions, by the way, please just chuck them up again. Oh, is the picture all right? Because we're also dodgy. It's a little bit dodgy as to whether or not.
Well, mine's all right. I'm watching it.
Oh, we are going to do some more live streams from where we are as well. So we'll be doing some live streams. I think they'll be quite interesting. And please give me feedback on the videos. Let me know if you think that you'd like to see more of something or more. And I might completely ignore you.
Tom says, well, I've got to get going. It's way past my bedtime. Enjoy the falafel.
Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. I will enjoy the falafel. I didn't really want savoury. I wanted something lighter. The falafel's a bit heavy. And I feel a bit of a plonker because I just told you all the story. You can imagine where I'm coming from, right? We just ordered it a few days ago to test it, and exactly that happened. I ordered 2 falafel and 1 box came, but I just assumed it was I
immediately said, oh, they've only done 1 again.
Yeah, my fault.
Yeah, you only pressed 1.
But I am justified.
He's not feeding me.
They're pretty big though, aren't they? I mean, to be honest, that'll be enough for us.
It will be enough. Mona says picture and sound is perfect.
Good.
That's good to hear. So
Good.
you were saying we will be doing
some live streams. I've just got the SIM card and everything sorted out that we can do some live streams. We've done a couple of test runs to get ready. And
work all right, don't they?
Yeah, we seem to be okay. Yeah. The pictures are never super good with live stream. They're not as good as what you'll get when you use a camera.
But it was pretty good. I mean, we've done worse.
Yes, we've definitely done worse.
And we were walking around because quite often you say if you stand in one, still in one, or sit in a spot, it's better than moving around all the time. But we tested it. We were moving around.
I'll explain that while you have a look for some questions, because I know there's some questions.
No, it's just they all say good night to Tom and sweet dreams, Tom. And
Tom
saying thank you.
Yeah, on you go, Tom. You take over. Don't mind us. Welcome to the Tom Show.
And Tom did say he's looking forward to seeing the rest of the JOGLE and some live streams. So that's good.
But I thought I saw some questions a little bit further up, so you might have to go. Yes.
Okay.
What Michelle was saying is when you talk about cameras, you get bit rates. It can get a bit boring, but you get bit rates, the amount of information in a single frame. So a single JPEG or picture has a certain amount of information. And when you move a camera around like that, it has to, if it stands still, for instance, where the air conditioner is up on the roof and all this white area here doesn't have to get repeated. The data doesn't have to get repeated. So it becomes a really crisp picture. But if I start walking around, the bit rate increases. The amount of each photograph has to be completely reprinted in simple terms. Becomes a lot harder for the camera to do. So when you start walking around doing a live stream, you're not only you're not only feeding lots more information into the screen, not just a blank white wall and two people sat fairly motionless like this, but you're getting cars and streets and dogs and animals and all that going in. You're doing that. On top of that, you're having to stream it live across the internet. So that's why you get this really grainy sort of effect. I love explaining. Actually, while you were talking a minute ago, I could have had a bite of this chocolate brownie. Do you want to go again? See any questions?
No, there's no questions. Got to ask me questions so he can eat his chocolate brownie that he's made the coffee to go with. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait. The coffee will be too hot and it'll be nice with the brownie later.
I'm starving. Oh, let me have a little look.
He thinks I've missed some. I haven't, honest Injun.
Well, get some questions in there, guys and girls.
And have you all hit the thumbs up for me?
Oh yeah, hit that thumbs up for Michelle.
Oh, Paul Titmus says, good morning guys, just joined and may have missed where you are. Sorry, loving your joggle videos.
Paul, how are you, mate?
Yeah, we're just talking about the joggle videos, saying how they're nearly coming to an end, and we will be then creating some videos from here.
Yes, from this secret destination that some of you know where we are.
If you've been following very closely, you'll know where we are.
So,
Brenda says, how much was the rental for the Land's End sign? I was astonished about that. I know, it's so disappointing.
That was, can you imagine? You've just walked the entire, you've done your photograph of your your John O'Groats sign up at John O'Groats. There's loads of people. Do you remember there were motorbikes coming up? There were guys in motorbike uniform, leathers, I don't have another word. And everybody was trying to get around this sign to get a photograph of John O'Groats Land's End. And it was a lovely atmosphere, a really nice atmosphere. And then we got down to the English end. And I'm going to criticize your damned English system of charging for everything. And we thought, oh, we've seen the famous photograph. Everyone's at Land's End and it's pointing Land's End, John O'Groats, and you're at the end of the thing. And they've taken the signs down. Now, they didn't take the signs down for weather or this, and they did it because there was no one at the kiosk to charge you to have the photograph. They'd taken all the signs down. And I thought, what a mean-spirited bunch of...
They hadn't even left the round bit at the top that said Land's End. Everything was gone.
There was just a white post. So I actually had to Photoshop. I photoshopped a photograph and put the sign there with Michelle. We posed around this basically white stick, you know. We're at Land's End.
I mean, we arrived at Land's End, nobody was there because everyone was on lockdown.
Yeah, everyone was on lockdown. Nobody could come and visit.
Nobody was there. I mean, we did actually get into the hotel.
And somebody, because they were going to charge, I think they want to charge like £10, which is probably, I don't know, but is that about $15, $20 for probably, actually, that's not, it was probably a lot more than that. I have no idea.
Paul says we went to Land's End a couple of weeks ago and left them a very negative review as the shop closed at 3 p.m. and the signs were gone. This was a Saturday.
Just Land's End. Listen to me.
Yeah.
England, because one of the things when we were touring around Europe, we camped and toured around Europe, and you can stop anywhere in Europe and just get a real feeling that they want you there. They want you there. And then we came back over we came over the channel from Dunkirk to Dover. We had our 3 children with us, and we decided to drive all along the south coast of England. There was nowhere to stop. You literally, every car park had a guy sat in a kiosk trying to take money off it. The whole of the coast of England is a pay to park. And they've all got this justified, oh, we've got to do it because there's too many people paying to park. So they're paying some guy 30 grand a year to sit in a car park to take £22,000 a year in parking fees. And they're having to put up kiosks and pay for all this stuff just to make people's lives really difficult. So when I got to the end of Land's End and they basically privatized the sign, sold it to some company, and that company didn't even have the decency to leave us. So we were a little bit annoyed, a little bit. Actually, no, we weren't.
Brenda said, did they get pinched? Like the Penny Lane sign was always getting stolen. No, they just took it down because there was nobody there to collect
because
the money.
they made it, but the old sign up at John O'Groats, you couldn't pinch it. It's a great big cast iron sign stuck into the ground, but and there's always people there. I mean, there's just there. Now they couldn't have pinched the old Land's End sign, but they built their own little sign now that has detachable fingers, and they can take it all off, pack it up, and take their sign home at the end of the day. What a mean-spirited system that is. It's the very. Could you imagine driving down the Florida Keys? You're going down through Key Largo, Key Marathon, Key West, and you get down to the end, and there's this beautiful rock there, I think, with a sort of like a buoy, a buoy, buoy, Americans say, like a buoy or something. There's a bell, right on the end.
And it's the southernmost tip
of America, and you can photograph. Imagine if they like pack that away at the end of the day and put it in a truck and then sort of charge people to stand there. You know, that's the sort of mentality. Who came up with that idea? Let's go a little political rant again. Government. I hate government. I can't tell you how much I hate government. And actually where we are now just underlines how bad government can be. But what brainless sap came up with the idea of, oh, you know what we should do is that sign that's been there for generations, Land's End to generation, let's sell it to a company and they can charge people to have a photograph at it and it'll make everybody really happy. And they say, yeah, that's a good idea, George. That's a brilliant idea. But give George a pay rise. Well done, George. Fantastic. And all the rocks as well. Let's sell the rocks to somebody, and they can pack those up and take them home at the end of the day. So they've sold this idea. Now that company sat there and said, oh, you know what happens is some people are coming up when we haven't got, Dave on the gate and taking their photographs after Dave's gone home. So what we'll do is we'll take the sign home with us at the end of the day. What a bunch of numpties, honestly. The world, you give any power to the government, they mess everything up. Tom will wish he hadn't gone to bed now because Tom loves my political.
Brenda says New Orleans is like that, Steve, very expensive too. Just took hubby there for his birthday to see the World War II museum and added almost $100 to the hotel. I
know, it's frustrating because New Orleans, we've been there and couple of times, I think, and Narleans. We've been there a couple of times, and really, it's just Bourbon. Well, Bourbon Street. You've got that little French Quarter in the centre, Bourbon Street, and just sort of like 2 roads out, it's like Kmart and Walmart and freeways and everything. So it's really just that tiny sort of square in the centre of New Orleans that's worthy of a visit. Everything else just looks like Dallas. It looks like anywhere else in the US. So they really got a captive audience there. It's not a real place.
Yeah, Brenda's helping you out. New Orleans, Steve.
Narleans. So it's like Jolene with an N. Narlene.
Oregon.
Like Oregon. When I went to Oregon, they said Oregon. Like So yeah, it's just you're captive to those couple of streets, and everybody's taking a photograph of Bourbon Street sign and what have you. I don't like, and apparently they're trying to privatise the John O'Groats one as well. So Scottish people, you know how much I love your country, your weather. Next time I get myself a nice bikini, I'm all in there. I'm up there in my bikini, Scotland, growing a ginger beard. I mean, it's my favourite place in the world. You know how much I love Scotland. Don't let them privatise that place. Don't let them pretend that there's some good reason why it'll bring in money to the community and all that nonsense. They're just a bunch of idiots. Each time you vote new people in, they've got to make up new laws. And they never get rid of any of the old laws. They've got to be seen to be doing something, because they're a bunch of numpties that have never done anything decent in their lives. And they're just going to come up with new laws and new rules and new taxes. I had a look just the other day, by the way, at the taxes. I think it was, what was it, Michelle, in Australia? It wasn't a cigarette tax. It was something else. It was cigarette tax. Back in the 1970s, the taxes on cigarettes was about $8 million And now in 2022, I think it's something like $77 billion. $7 billion. And you think to yourself, which government official decided to, because for those of you who don't know, a packet of cigarettes in Australia is nearly $40 now. So it's like $30, you know, $35 to $40. And almost all of that is tax revenue. And
Rick just said the surveyor's just arrived, so he's got to go.
Enjoy, Rick. Rick's having a new roof and solar panels done, so he'll be making. I'm sure he'll be making a video about it shortly. Rick, you're probably just going to get your camera, aren't you? Probably just going to get his camera. So anyway, so yes, what they do, and they've done the same. Imagine the fuel. What they do is they make themselves. They're addicts. They get themselves addicted. There is no incentive in Australia at all to stop people smoking. They can't afford.
It costs them too much.
They might as well put adverts in school play parks, because there is so much revenue that comes in from their taxes now from cigarette smoking. They would go bankrupt if people stopped smoking. So it's kind of like, it's just that's the level of mentality of these people. They're too dumb to be in charge.
Anyway,
Sorry.
Enough politics.
Enough politics. Back to the walk.
Which is nearly finished. Is it 3 to go?
3 to go, and that last few days was quite interesting, because when we left, well, you're going to see it. You're going to see it when we left. What's that little coastal town that we were in? Penzance.
Yes.
Yeah, and we thought we were going to go really short distance to get to the end of John O'Groats. So we walked out of the town and ended up on an A9.
It's the A30, I think.
It's the A30, but it was another sort of like motorway road. And so we thought, oh, we're not going to do this. We know better. We're going to go up through the mountains and things. And it was a good choice, but it was also a bad choice, because it was like up and down. We could have gone along this road, but it was actually a good choice. And we struggled again. That was one of those nights where we struggled. Do you remember we were going over field?
I know, he just said, one more.
Yeah, one more field.
Said, right, get out of the wind.
Get out of the wind. We get on the next field. It's
One more.
Get out one more field. We crossed these fields, and each field was on a slope, and it was all sort of boggy. And we're going one more field. And eventually, after a long time, we got to a nice little camping. Well, we got fit to a field where we could get a little bit of shelter, and we knew we only had a fairly short walk to the end.
That was the thing as well. We wanted to have because we scheduled our live stream, hadn't we? So we had to hit a spot by a certain time.
Yeah.
And actually, we did all right, didn't we?
We ended up giving ourselves lots and lots of time, which was really good. So the walk was amazing. If you've any questions about the gear that we used, now's the time to ask. If you're asking this after in the comments, I'm probably not going to be able to answer all those questions that come up in the comments at the moment. We might do another live stream and address some of those points if we do. So are we getting to the end, Michelle?
I think we're getting to the end. We've been going nearly an hour and a half.
All right. So it was lovely to catch up. Any questions before we go? Michelle and I are going to get off. I'm going to try and I'm going to eat that. If that had been a really nice brownie, you'd have heard. I'd have told you about it.
It's just
as it is. It's a little bit of sort of sponge cake with some chocolate icing on top.
But it's sweet.
And
if you've got a cup of coffee, you're all right.
And if you just need a little bit of energy, that's all you need. Oh, look, Damon's just popped in. Hello, Damon. Yeah.
My connection's just frozen, so you won't have to do anything that's coming up now, because I can't see anything.
Damon and Rick have been in. So Damon and Rick, you'll see a few videos ago, we had a mate's break, it was called, the video, and we went to Damon and Jen's field. Now, Damon's got a lovely little field where he does sort of dog rescue and works with a lot of animals and things. So Damon has this wonderful little piece of land, which him and a bunch of mates often meet up and have little camp events there. And if you look at Nina, the ambulance campers, he's got videos on it, so you can check out Damon's videos there as well, his channel. But it was a lovely stop for Michelle and I when we've been. Actually, there's always a story behind every single stop. That's why I like the questions. If you put them in, I got stories, lots of stories. So, for instance, Damon's Field was a brilliant stop, but the night before we had a lovely guy, PT Mac 64, I think his YouTube channel is. And PT I've known for years. He's a ukulele player, lovely guy, just an absolute gem of a guy. And he messaged me and said, I've booked you a hotel in Gloucester as a treat. And I was like, that was just a blessing. I mean, Peter Mac, what a lovely guy. And Denise, his wife, lovely couple of people, just salt of the earth. Anyway, so that was one of those days where we were trying to get to that hotel, and it was killing us because we arrived really late. It was really dark. We were absolutely exhausted, and we got there, and it was just such a blessing. The next morning, there was a storm from hell. It was like and not a big storm that would have affected most people, but rain. It just rained, and it was coming down at about that angle, not a serious angle, but about that angle. So it's driving into your face, absolutely dripping. We're going through Gloucester, and I wanted to film in Gloucester and show, but it's just horrible. It's just like you could, if you held the camera up, it would have been like filming underwater. So we're walking along the canals, and we're drenched, but we know that we haven't got far to go before we get to Damon's Field, and we can relax. And about an hour outside of the field, the sun came out, everything got nice and bright. We dried off.
That was one of the times actually where we actually got soaked. The t-shirt and everything was wet. Everything was
it's like your shoes were like full of water, but everything was just drenched. And we arrived at Damon's Field, and it's like, hi, it's like springtime, you know, it's like lovely.
Dried, everything was
dried, it didn't look, and we said, well, we had a terrible morning. Oh, have you really? You know,
it's been nice here.
It's lovely. And we'd literally been submariners without a submarine for about 4 hours. And then we rocked up at Damon, and the weather was lovely. We had a lovely time. So it was really nice, and they cooked us proper food.
He did make us a good fry-up.
So, yeah.
And Damon, who remembers. The Paul Titmus said, it was nice to see you both. I'm looking forward to the last of your JOGLE videos. I followed you live on the walk and enjoyed it then too. I'm looking forward to your new travels. Stay safe.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, there's been a bit of time passed since the JOGLE finished. I put a lot of the weight back on. We lost a lot of weight walking that JOGLE, and then we went to Mexico, as a lot of you know, and I put it all back on again because we just ate nachos and burritos and basically tamales and everything that's not good for you. We ate, but all the weight back on, which was so frustrating. But subsequently, you know, what a mad couple of years it's been. Really, what a mad couple of years. But we've done so much in that period. A lot of people probably haven't been able to do much, and we've done so much. And we're back out on the road again. We're back out on the road. You
put your mind to it, and you sat down for virtually 2 months and edited.
It took me almost as long to edit that JOGLE, and I know that video a little while, 2 videos, was a bit of a rant about. You see.
Finish the sentence.
I know, finish the sentence. But I know that video. It took 2 whole months of solid work to get that edit. It was almost as much work as doing, and actually less enjoyable than doing the walk. Editing for me, it was more arduous and more just a daily grind than it was actually doing the walk. It took ages, and that was only the second half of the thing that I edited, and that's a little bit why that rant I had a couple of episodes ago, you know, because while we were walking, I always remember occasionally I talked to Mum, you know, on Get WhatsApp, and we'd have a chat, and then I'd heard that somebody fairly close to us had sort of mentioned, oh, you know, they'd asked for money or something like that, but they did it. It was a really sort of gnarly sort of way they'd said it, you know, and I said to Michelle, I said, that's really got on my nerves, because, you know, at the end of the day, what we create here, I know a lot of people think everything on YouTube should be free, and it should be. I 100% support that. But you know what we're doing is this is our work. This is what we do. It doesn't make a great deal of income, not even enough to get by on, but it is a job, and effectively it's a job we love to do. It's just great. But there are some people that like to occasionally support those sort of things, and younger people really do understand this a lot better because they understand the whole social media system of things, and they say, oh, I like that guy, buy him a cup of coffee, or oh, I like that channel, they make me laugh every week, and they sort of support it, and they understand. But our generation and people above us and below us to a degree are really sort of miserly about that sort of stuff. They if they want to get a proper job, if you want to do that, get a proper job. They can't, because they can't get it, and they will never get it. It doesn't really matter, but it did make me sort of really annoyed, and I sort of ranted on about it because there's nothing wrong. If any of you want to do it, do YouTube as a proper job. You'll never work as hard as you do in a proper job on YouTube, but you'll never find it hard work because it's always a lot more enjoyable. You can do it, but do understand that it is a lifestyle working thing, a bit like if you have a little hobby farm and you sell eggs at the end of the thing. People aren't going to say to you, oh, why are you selling eggs? Why shouldn't you give them away? You just got, your chickens don't cost you to lay an egg. It's the same sort of thing. It's not that you need that, $4 or $5 for a packet of eggs, but it helps, it helps make you feel that what you're doing is worth it. It's not that you need the $4 or $5 for the packet of eggs, but it justifies why you're keeping all those chickens and looking after them. And people say, oh yeah, but at least you get free eggs. do you understand what I'm saying? It's anyway, it was something that came from a closer connection, and somebody was a bit sort of mildly about it, and it really bugged me.
Mona says, thank you both for the wonderful live joggle and hard work you put into bringing us with you.
And that's Mona, that's all we want from people, that they enjoy it and they get something out of it. And for those people like PT and people that give us a PayPal donation or join us on Patreon and things, that we don't want people to do that. But if they do want to, they feel they want to do it, we're really happy. It makes it a little bit, we got a few eggs sold, we sold a few eggs, and it makes it a little bit more worth it, because but if you think that we make a lot of money out of making joggle videos, no, it's not even. You probably this week, most of you earn more than I'll earn from the joggle series. So it doesn't work that way. But
Carl Howard said, hi guys, better late than never, just back home from driving this day to work. Great to see you both.
Carl, watch the whole video back if you can, mate, because we've talked about a lot of stuff and I think it's quite interesting. I even did a competition between kings and queens, which didn't work out very well, and I screwed that up.
And Paul said, is that a bird in the background whistling? It's not now, Paul, but I think it was.
Was it?
It's a real whistle.
No.
It was a whistle. And Brenda asked, hang on, let me find the question, Brenda. What did you do with all your gear?
Oh, we still got it.
Yep,
Brenda.
we sorted through and got,
We've got it.
Things like the ponchos and things which actually worked very well for the 3 months, but they had to go.
Some things were just worn out. I mean, that's 3 months of working. Some things were worn out. Yeah. The fluffy ducks, the ponchos are with us.
They're here. The sandals are here.
Down things. I'm wearing my. Are these the actual ones that were walking?
Yeah,
no. I think so.
No.
Did I buy new?
No, I got new ones. You got new ones at the end.
Did I?
You did.
Okay.
So I've still got my ones that I got in Glasgow are still here.
Yeah. So what we tend to do is we only carry with us very limited amount of footwear. One pair of footwear, maybe a pair of flip-flops, thongs to wear around the house. And we wear them till they drop, basically. So when Michelle's get down to a point where she feels she needs a new pair, she'll get some more. And we've become real big fans of these Keen boots. Funny enough, sandals. Funny enough, this is a YouTube story. I've got a really good mate. I haven't spoken to him for a long time.
Just interrupt. Damon says, I appear to have a couple of sleeping bags here.
Damon. Yeah, we didn't bring the sleeping bags back to Australia with us because they were big and bulky. They were in perfect condition. So I gave them charitably to a mate of ours who's just dobbed me in for being a liar. Now, I didn't bring the sleeping bags back with us. Maybe
most things went back to Australia.
but
I'd say most things.
most things went back.
The tent, the bags.
Thank you, Damon. I'm not talking about it. So yeah, most things. There's a few things that didn't make it. So I've got a good friend, and I haven't spoken to him for a long time. I miss him actually. Dave and Shirley, you know that they've got a YouTube channel called Sorlin, and Dave. We haven't. Sometimes you just don't get to. There's so many people we know we don't get to speak to. Anyone that's watching this that hasn't heard from us a long time, say hello. You know, we don't always. We meet so many people on our journey that we don't always manage to message you as often as we should. You know. Anyway, Dave and Shirley, we were up in Michigan, Holland, Michigan, some years back, and it was beautiful. We went to visit some YouTube buddies of ours, and we went walking through the streets of Holland, and there was a pair of sandals. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the window, there were a pair of sandals. I like those sandals. They're really nice. What brand is it? And I took a photograph, and they were Keen. They were Keen sandals. They just look really nice. You know, sort of. It's not. They just look quality, and I like shoes, don't I, Michelle?
Just a bit.
I got a bit of an Imelda Marcos thing going on. I've got a lot of shoes, and so I saw them and said, I'm going to get some of those when we get to a position we can. And we bought some years later, and we've lived in them ever since. They're our favourite sort of go-to shoe for everything, and we never wear socks.
No.
Almost never wear socks. I
I think we've got a little pair each
Yeah.
here with us, just as if we need socks for some reason.
Because our feet, and by wearing these, it means our feet actually are fairly healthy in so much as they seem to have good circulation.
I get cold quite quickly, but I'm all right with my feet. Have good circulation, they're not quite so bad.
Yeah, if any of you get cold feet or bad circulation, all I can say to you is, if you don't believe this, start wearing open shoes or no shoes. You will find what happens is over the years, you're wearing socks and more socks and another pair of socks, and sometimes you've got big woolly this, that, and the other. All the little capillary veins that run into your feet, your feet get hot and they shrink back, and eventually they wither and they virtually die. And so you get bad circulation in your feet. If you let your feet get cold, the capillaries, the blood will push warm blood to the very outer layers of your skin to warm it up, and so those capillaries open up, they let warm blood in, and they pump through, and they start to actually warm the foot through. If you keep your feet wrapped up in boots and socks and shoes, over time your circulation will get bad, because your feet, you'll think, oh, they're cold, so I'll put another pair of socks on. The feet warm up, they suck the blood out of your feet. They literally, your body pushes the blood away from your feet like it's geniusly able to do. The capillaries never get filled, they shrink away, your feet get colder. So by actually allowing your feet to breathe is the best thing you can ever do for cold feet. And my feet never get cold. The circulation in my feet are great. Michelle used to have icy cold feet all the time. She's got much better circulation now. It's just natural science. If you wore gloves on your hands all the time, eventually your hands would stop needing any blood supply, and that less blood in your hands, less circulation.
So Carl says, your trips and videos have been fantastic for many of us these past few years. Keep on going. Brenda said lots of people live that way and share their experience, talking about YouTubers and things. And she said it's the tip jar, Steve, for providing a service.
Yes, or just a way of saying, oh, I enjoyed that. You know how much I enjoy it. I think I'll just chuck a coffee or a meal or whatever you want towards somebody that you enjoy. It's no different than if you hear a busker on the street. Even a busker on the street has no right to demand that everybody that listens to him has to give money, but sometimes people are uplifted by it and they do give them something, and that's just the way of things, isn't it? It's just the way of life.
So Steve is asking, did you both lose a lot of weight on the walk? I went back and watched the first videos from the series and compared them to the latest, and you both looked totally different.
Well, yes, we did. I probably look right now. I probably look like at the beginning of the walk, Steve. Yeah, I don't. did we even weigh ourselves in that, to
No.
that degree?
No, we
No.
just knew because what we were wearing.
Yeah,
was
or
loose.
I've got the same trousers on now as I wore on the walk, and they were hanging off me at the end of the walk. And now they're nice and full again. They're full of bum and belly. But these are these sort of actually the exact same trousers that did the walk. And by the end of the walk, the old belt was, everything was ruching up, and we felt a lot healthier.
And we didn't actually eat particularly healthy on them.
No,
if we did it again, we would probably try and eat. We know what works for our body to give us more energy, and we try and eat more of that sort of stuff, wouldn't we?
Well, if I gave one tip to somebody that's doing these sort of long distance walks, is don't use it as an excuse. It's a bit like pregnancy, when you here we go. Pregnancy advice from a male. You'll enjoy this, but it's true. A lot of times people get pregnant and they think, I'm eating for two. So all they do is eat donuts for two, and end up sort of like balloon. The baby comes out and they're sort of 5 times the size they were before they had the baby. And when they say you're meant to eat for two, you should still eat healthily for two, because actually, even if while you're pregnant you put on weight, it's going to be hard to lose that weight once you've given birth.
I thought you were going to say your one tip for somebody who's walking is not to eat bread, because it doesn't give you the energy.
We'll go there in a minute. But so the one thing when you're doing the big walk is to not just, because you're burning loads and loads and loads of calories. We ate a lot of chocolate and rubbish and stuff that we would have got even fitter and healthier if we'd eaten healthier food, more bananas, more porridge, more oats, more sort of low burn carbohydrates, slow burning carbohydrates and things. But we did eat a lot of junk, so we ended up at the end lost a lot of weight, but not as much as we could. Going to what Michelle was saying, one thing we really learned a lot about our bodies. One of the things that the walk did was teach us a lot about our bodies and what we could and could not do. And it's amazing. Your physical body is amazing what it can do. We are actually designed to walk. And walking is the most natural thing that you'll ever do. It's just, and I've talked about it in the walk, but we also noticed when you put certain things into your body, which ones gave you enough energy to walk that day and which ones gave you no energy at all. And I always remember we bought a lot of bread and we made some sandwiches up, nice sandwiches. I think that we had Branston pickle, cheese, all the stuff, all the good stuff we like. We had this big pack of sandwiches, and in the morning we get up and we'd eat. We ate 2, 3, I don't know, whatever sandwiches one, and we had no energy. We would walk and we were just like completely zapped. And then we started to notice that when we ate bread, white bread particularly, but I think actually all bread, this is pretty much goes across the board, that it gave us no energy at all. We couldn't walk on bread. It gave us nothing. So clearly, both of us, so we're not we're not the same metabolism. There's something wrong with bread. It fattens you up, but it really doesn't give you any good quality carbohydrate energies. And I don't know if it's particularly white bread, but I think because we've noticed when we had wholemeal breads and things like that, much the same thing. So those foods were rubbish. They're not great food. And we still eat, I've got a falafel there, and that's all white bread. At the end of that, I will feel satiated, full up, for probably an hour, and then I'll feel picky again because it doesn't give you anything. Your body's not getting the goodness out of those things. So things like chocolate does actually. A little bit of chocolate does all the sugars, those sort of strong sugars and things. Nuts. So sorry, nuts.
That's what Mona's saying. JOGLE food. What's your recommendations? Will army ration meals be of any use? Army
ration meals are very, very scientifically worked out. I mean, you're not getting a big packet of white bread in army rations. It's all about giving you the right amounts of sugars and proteins. So yes.
Just quickly, Damon says, I will have to love you and leave you. I've got to get ready for work. Great to catch up live. Look forward to meeting back up with you in the future. Take care. Bye, Damon.
Will happen, Damon. Take care. Love to Jen.
And Andy C says, hi, how are you? I did LEJOG did you miss doing the walk, and did you feel down after your walk?
Yeah.
We did miss the walking, but we didn't feel down particularly because we moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, no, we were lucky enough to probably have other things to keep our minds occupied.
But we did miss
But
the
there
walking.
is a certain amount of and everybody who does these big walks, I think, will know this feeling. When you get to the end of it, it's like, what next? It's like it becomes a companion that it aches. You miss that companion. The walk is a companion, and when you get to the end, to go back to sort of like the same old lifestyle is a lot of joggle people I've spoken to have said the same. Going back to it, you just want to do it again. You just want to go out and do more. We're kind of fortunate in so much as our life is basically a one long joggle. I mean, we're always finding new challenges and things to keep us on our toes, and not always good experiences. They can quite often be bad, but then the joggle itself was not necessarily good. Did you walk it or cycle it, by the way? I think with cycling, it would be less of a sort of come down sort of from cycling, because quite often cyclists have done it within 2 weeks. So it's almost like just a short adventure. But I think the walk, particularly because it's such a big walk, it becomes a real part of your life for such a long time. 3 months is a long time. I mean, you start to live, eat and breathe that sort of lifestyle. And when you go back, it's really hard.
Yeah, Andy says, I miss the walk and the freedom you have to walk.
Yeah. And I imagine also when you get back, Andy, the thing is, we're lucky we have the social media in a way and we can get to reshare it. But you go and meet your friends back in the office or where you work and just start banging on about the jog all the time, their eyes are going to glaze over and get bored, and you can only really relive those experiences with other people that have done the joggle. And if you meet someone, you'll know yourself, Andy, if you meet somebody who's done the joggle or any other big walk or anything else in life that has a similar sort of connotation to it, you'll be able to you'll find their interest in what you did, your interest in what they did, and that sparks a whole new thing. So the only thing is, Andy, I think with everybody is to keep setting yourself achievable goals, and what's the word? Not inevitable consequences. Google it, and I won't go through inevitable consequences because I can barely say it. But and as for food, I'm not sure if it was Brenda that asked, but
Mona, I think.
Mona, was it Mona? About the food?
Mona. Yeah, ration meals.
So, and before that, somebody was saying which foods make you
joggle foods. What's your recommendations?
Yeah,
it was Mona.
Mona. I think we need to go into that in more detail at some point, because I think it's taught us a great deal about food and what the body needs in order to function. And back in the days, back before sort of the internet and sitting in cars, you get up in the morning, get out of bed, sit down, eat a cup of tea, eat your breakfast, go out, sit in the car, drive to work, go out, sit at the desk, do your work. Before that, and not that long ago, barely 100 years ago, people had to walk and get their milk, walk and get their bread, walk and get everything, walk to work, walk to fetch water. And our body, we would have been more in tune with what kept us going. And actually in places like we are now, I think we see people are far fitter and healthier, and they might be effectively poorer, but physically they're phenomenally wealthy compared to what we are in the West with our sort of awful foods. I mean, the foods that we tend to eat are useless, absolutely useless to they're probably useful for our lifestyles. They anchor us down in front of the TV to watch Netflix, but they're not any use to get you through the day as far as your calories and things are concerned.
So Andy said he walked it. Took almost 3 months, but did it from March to June. It felt like a brotherhood. I'm aiming to do the jog again this year.
Yeah, that would be a nice March to June. I think that's when I would walk it.
We did it.
I go from the south to the north.
Yeah.
Because you'll have constant back winds. You'll have the sun behind you. One of the problems we had coming from the north to the south was the sun and wind, it burns you, burns your face, not in a sunburn sort of way, but dries out your skin. You're constantly getting sort of sun in your
The only
eyes.
reason we did it that way was because we didn't start till August, and I knew that we wouldn't be finishing until November, and it was going to get cold, so I didn't want to be in Scotland in November.
That was her idea.
It was my idea.
Now, had I known what I known today, I'd have argued that point, because I wouldn't. It was cold everywhere.
Yeah, but I think it would have been even colder and,
No.
and even shorter days.
If I did that again, Michelle, I'd start at the bottom.
Okay.
Even at that time of year. No, I'd start at the bottom. Look, we
Yeah, there was more-
we walked in Scotland. It never stopped raining. Might as well have been winter.
True.
It never stopped raining. It was miserable. We could have done that in the east of England.
We could.
It would have been gorgeous.
Yep.
We could have walked. And actually, Rick kept messaging, "Oh, it's lovely down here. I'm sat in a bikini, sort of sunning myself in the garden." And we go, "The wind's hitting us and snow's coming down." And Rick sort of sat there saying, "Oh yeah, it's lovely down here. We've had the hottest summers." And I'm.
So Andy said I followed spring up the country. Yes, that sounds nice.
No. Even if I did it in the wintertime, I'd go the other way, because
I wouldn't do it in the wintertime.
but if you had to do it in the wintertime, I would go the other way. Resign yourself. No, I wouldn't either. But resign yourself to the fact that there's so many more positives of going uphill. I mean, you think right from the top of England, top of Scotland down to the bottom of England, that it would be mainly downhill.
So Nigel said there's an Aussie, a vegan cyclist, YouTuber, who's been living a high-carb, low-fat diet for years, and he's in great shape. Fruits, sugars, rice, etc.
Yeah, but he's a bit of a plonker, and he's never had a happy day in his life. So I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Hangry. There's you've got to find a balance between healthy eating and walking around hangry all the time. Hangry is sort of like angry, hungry, which is basically, you have to feed your body nutritionally right, but you also have to feed your mind with food. And food itself should have some sort of pleasure. If it becomes like a religion, then it's too much.
Anyway, I think we should probably wrap this up because
Yes.
it's been an hour and 50 minutes.
All right. It's been lovely to catch up with you. Joggle episode tomorrow. Which one is it tomorrow, Michelle?
Yes, that one.
Is it where we meet the lovely couple in the field yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. No.
All right. So joggle episode tomorrow. What's in our pack, what we were carrying in our pack. Andy, you might find that interesting, make some comparisons. Anyone else that's done the walk might be interested, and get in there, tell us what you think, where we were right, where we were wrong, and that's coming up soon. And then
You are right, it is where we meet the couple.
Okay, so this was an interesting little story. I'll talk very briefly and then I'm going to go, because I do talk about it in the video.
It's right at the end.
But I can get more opportunity. I can talk a little bit more here. So we're walking along. I can't remember where it was exactly, but we're heading towards the finish, and we're getting the town, the ups and hills like this all over the place, and the towns are getting a little bit sort of difficult to find places to camp. And we spot a field, and it's been raining because it did since we started. It's been raining. And we go out into this field. We think we're fairly well hidden, and we're sort of surreptitiously, because there are a few houses around, we're setting up the tent. We'll lay the liner down, and we'll think we'll sit here, pretend we're with a little straw, chewing a straw, pretend we're having a rest, making a cup of tea or something like that. And we're gonna sit here till it's got dark, and then we'll put the tent up and we'll sleep, and we'll go in the morning. So we're sat in this field, and right over in the distance, there's these two little sort of bodies that come, a bit like Michelle and I sort of stood at the brickwork looking over at us, and I thought, okay, this isn't looking good. And suddenly they go all the way around. There's little specks in the distance. They go all the way around, open up a gate, and they start walking towards us. I thought, oh dear, here we go. We're going to have a get off my bloody land minute. So this lovely couple came up to us, and they said, oh, what are you doing? And I explained, we're walking from John O'Groats Land's End, and they said, it's not a good spot. That's really wet. This thing, you should come and, it's our field. We're happy for you to stay there, but come and camp in our garden because the grass is flatter and you won't get wind. So it was a really good, nice experience, and we didn't film much of it. We were running short of power, and I think there was another one of those times we were running short of power, trying to conserve it for the last push. So we didn't film that much. There's a little clip of the couple there. It was another one of those great experiences. And actually, they got us fish and chips, and we went in. I had a beer. I sat with, what was his name? Philip. Sat with Philip, and we had a beer, and we sat and chatted, and there was lots. We don't film all that stuff.
No.
You're not going to just film all the, oh, hello, you know, this.
We were too busy having a good time.
Just having a relax. And then we had to go out and sleep in the dark in the
garden.
things. And in the morning, they'd all got up and gone to work and things.
Yeah.
So that was another great experience. And I don't get chance to really show all those experiences. Another little thing, I want to write a whole book about this because there's so many little anecdotal stories. And I chose to record, rather than write everything down, I recorded every night in the tent, I recorded a little dialogue about what we'd done, a little audio recording on my phone. And all the little tiny bits, the funny things, the hilarious things, the hygiene things, everything was recorded on this thing. And then we set off to Mexico, and my phone failed, and I lost everything. Lost the whole jar. I was really, really annoyed. I lost all the recording. They weren't in the cloud, unfortunately. They were on this device, and so that all went. And so now it's the actual videos that help me bring back the memories, so I can possibly go through my mind and remember everything, and one day we'll write this experience down. Anyway, that's it.
Jan A says, hello, good to see you, just woken up.
Oh, Jan, good morning.
There is one more question. Liam Willis says, hi, just found your videos really inspiring. I noticed you're walking on roads a lot. Is that where footpaths are unavailable, or would you following footpaths exclusively make the walk unreasonably long? Yeah,
that's a good question, actually. John O'Groats to Land's End, Land's End to John O'Groats is not a walk. There is no such pathway. So everybody tries to wind their way along it and try to stay off of roads as much as possible. But to be honest, in a country like England, where and to a lesser degree in Scotland, because there's less towns, where you're never, if you've ever driven up the United Kingdom, you're never far from the next town, and there aren't actually many routes. I mean, we did everything. We did all the big walkways, Pennine Way, West Highland Way, Great Glen Way. We did the wonderful Deer Street walk. So we did lots and lots of very designated hiking routes. Some of them were awful, 7-way. Some of them were awful, and some of them we avoided deliberately because they were so bad. But they don't link up. If you try to, you might see come down the United Kingdom, it stops here, and then over here is Deer Street. Now you might think, oh, I'll just go across here to Deer Street, but this might be 4 days walking. No, a week walking to get from here to the start of the next one. So in between those, you quite often have to hit towns and very occasionally cities that you have to go through. I mean, we went through every big city. No, we didn't. We only went through a little line, but we went through big cities. There were areas that we couldn't. There weren't. What am I trying to say? There were areas that were written down, you should go this way, that we thought were rubbish. So we went different ways. So they were, but nobody had walked. There were parts where nobody had walked.
And like we did at the end, we didn't do the South Coast path or whatever.
No,
because it goes in and out and up and down, and it was been windy as anything.
Well, everybody had reported to us. It was horrible.
So we said no, and that was why we did it. We did a lot of roads in Devon and Cornwall, but we took a lot smaller, didn't we?
Yeah. And for what you've seen, somebody said to me the other day, oh, you didn't show this bit, or you didn't show there's one or two absolute morons that come on and I call them morons because they get annoying after a while, because they don't change the story. Oh, you didn't film this bit. Think about it, right? How far we walked. You can't, think of the hours that we walked, and it wasn't practical to film everything. And also, there was bits where we ended up using mainly the GoPro in the end, and there was huge amounts that we lost, and there were huge amounts of video that we got this frozen, where literally even one the other day you got ruined a little bit because you're walking along, but suddenly you go, and the voice carries on going, oh, we're going to go up this hill down here, but you're frozen, and you do that for an hour, and you pop it in your pocket and you get that. You won't know that's happened for months, because then you get it on the editing table and you've lost a whole section, or it's gone black, or the thing's frozen. So,
and there's huge bits where it's really just boring. It's just walking and walking and walking, and nothing's happening. You tended to get the camera out when things were happening.
If something happened, you grab the camera out. So there was some areas we just there was a particular beautiful drovers, which was gorgeous, Cross Drover Borders Trail. Anyway, it was a gorgeous walk, and we only filmed. We just filmed a little bit of it. So no, there isn't really, to answer your question, there isn't really a designated walking route, and a lot of it is on roads and paths, and a lot of it, a huge amount. I always remember years ago, Ian Botham, a famous cricketer, did the walk for charity, but he went up with a fleet of cars, and they had a car ahead of him with big signs flashing and a car behind him, sort of like clear the road. And
sorry, I had the wrong bit.
and so he had all these support vehicles with him, and he was on the roads pretty much. I think he did the cycle route, so he was on the roads almost the whole time. Yeah, we were on the roads a lot, and actually, some of it we filmed, some of it we just didn't. Some of the walks we filmed. The other big problem we had, as I said right at the beginning of this video, was just having enough power to document most of it. So there was some,
because we were camping, we didn't have the electric socket.
No, we had nothing. We couldn't charge things up. So there was some. There are some beautiful walks. You have to make your own land end to John O'Groats. I would say there's a book out there. I wouldn't even bother buying it. It's a waste of money in my opinion. It's not very well sorted out. Did the internet die? No.
No.
That noise off me. So just in case the internet does die or we get any issues, no more questions, Michelle?
No, that is it, I think.
All right, we'll do another one of these in maybe at the end of the joggle and have a talk if you. And questions. We're just about to get some music. All right.
Time to go. I think that's saying it's time to go.
Yeah, I think that's my. I've actually decided to bring a little Google Mini. I'm going to unplug it because I think it's just about to play some sort of musical playlist. All right. Love to everybody.
Yes,
wonderful for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the Joggle series. If you do want to support us, you can always send a donation. PayPal me.thanks Steve with 2 S's. You can always send us a price of a cup of coffee or even a Rolls Royce if you wish to. On that, we'd love to. And also, we're still doing Patreon. If anyone wants to get across and check out Patreon, it's a sort of a good way of making supporting the channel and things.
But if not, just hit the thumbs up and hit the share button. Share it with your friends, and let everybody know what we did. Yeah,
because we have the best subscribers in the world. We absolutely do. We love you all. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
End stream. Do you want to end stream?
Yes.